And welcome to episode 2 of the Why Behind the Why podcast. I am Tyrell James,
And I am Dr. Nicole Thomas.
and welcome to the Why Behind the Why podcast again. All right. It just felt like I should have said that right after you said what you said.
Okay.
um, today's question is actually, you know what? I want to put that at the bottom of the screen. So, um, the question you said is who are we? Is it who are we or who am I?
Who are we? Who am I? Yeah, both. It's going to come back to the same answer.
Right.
So let's deal with I, and it's going to connect to the we.
Okay. Okay. So who am I? Yes, let's get that scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Yes, let's scroll. I say yes, let's scroll. There we go. Okay. So all right. So who am I? The metaphysical explanation for who am I. Now, before we even get to that answer, I want to figure out how we even lead up to that answer. Okay.
Okay.
So, all right. I'm gonna try to slow walk it here. Okay.
Okay.
So, um, I hate blanket statements. I hate when people say things like all people this, all men this, all women that, because how do you know? You don't. You don't
Okay.
know. I also hate stats. I hate stats that people just pull out of thin air. They be like, well, 70% of the people do this. How do you know? Shut up. You don't know. You're just throwing numbers out there, and you are also speaking from your viewpoint, from your experiences, which is in the grand scheme of things, very small.
Okay.
Very, very small. I mean, it is a microcosm of what is really going on in the world. I think it is very arrogant, but humans, we're very arrogant. Um, I think that is very, very arrogant to for people to make these blanket statements and to throw these stats out here because what you're doing is you're thinking, speaking, and feeling for a bunch of people, right?
Okay.
So there are 7.7 billion people on Earth, roughly, right?
Mhm.
Look, I just said I hate the numbers thing, and here I go with the numbers.
Just want them.
I hate unsubstantiated numbers. Put it that way. Okay. So
Okay.
we can kind of that's why I said roughly we can kind of count 7.7 billion people, whatever. All right, that's what we're going with here anyway. So about 7.7 billion people, which means there are there's the potential for that question to be asked, who am I? To be asked 7.7 billion times. Again, I hate blanket statements. How do we give one answer to 7.7 billion questions
I
without
love
it
it.
being a blanket statement?
I love it. 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 I love the way you even led up to that because the answer that I was going to originally give first,
Mhm.
we're going to lead into that answer because of the way you said it. The way that you're posing the question is so beautiful because we are who we know that we are.
Okay.
We are who we know that we are. Um, my master teacher always taught me that belief is the lowest form. It's you should know the truth. You should know the truth, and the truth should set you free. So it's whoever you believe you to be. As a man think in his heart, so shall he be. So is he. There's different translations of that, but you are who you believe that you are. Um, and that's how we answer that question the way that you posed it.
Okay.
So whatever you believe you to be, whatever you know you to be wholeheartedly, that's who you are, good, bad, or indifferent. That's who you are.
Okay. So if that's the case, do you
Mhm.
believe that people just are who they are? That, and I mean, do you believe that we are born who we are and that's just who we are? And if that's the case, does that now mean that well, sayings like whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger? Like does that even still apply at this point? Because if you are who you are, it's not a matter of, with that, the mentality that comes with whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger is based off of my experiences in life. They were able to build me and change me and to help me to evolve and make me stronger and grow. But if you are who you are from the beginning, then you were already strong enough to deal with these things. So what that means is adversity is not necessarily helping you to become stronger. It's revealing to you how strong you truly are.
You better say it. You better say it. You better say it. You better say it. I love it. Because ultimately, so let's get to the core of the the title of the show, right?
Hmm.
So we all are pieces of all that is. Okay.
Okay.
So from my point of view, we all are pieces of all that is. We all are pieces of God. God has many names. All that is, whatever you call God, source, universe, we all are pieces of that energy. Okay.
Hmm.
And if we all are a piece of that energy, that means we are all that that is. Everything that God is, we are.
Okay. So does that mean when I ask the question, who am I? The answer is I am God.
Absolutely, you're a piece of God.
I'm a piece of God, but not God.
I mean, okay. So if I'm gonna give you the analogy that my master teacher gave me.
Okay.
So if I have a cup and I go to the ocean, and we're gonna say God is the ocean, and
Hmm.
I scoop out a cup of water from the ocean, which I'm scooping out a piece of God from the ocean. What's in my cup?
It's a piece of God. I got
So it's still God.
you. Hmm. Okay. So is God is God just a combination of us all, or is God still an entity, a being, um, and we are all just part of this entity?
Well, I think that I love the expression that we all are God having a human experience. I love that expression, that saying that we all are a piece of God having a human experience, because I think that's it. I think that we all are God having an experience. It's just God having experiences, um, you know, through these vessels.
Okay. So when we pray to God, are we praying to ourselves then?
I love it. So it's amazing because I grew up very rigid Christianity, and prayer used to mean something different to me then than it does now. Because back then we were kind of taught that it was almost like contradictory, because we were taught that God, you know, sits in heaven, and God is in heaven, and then we would say, but then they would say God lives in you. So it's kind of, how does that happen? You know what I mean? If
Hmm.
God sits in heaven, but He sits in me, which one is it? And it was almost that thing of we had to earn our way to it. If we're good, then God is happy with us. If we're bad, God is sad with us, and we had to earn our way to things. And then, if we did something good, we would be blessed. If we did something bad, we would be punished. And we had to earn. So even in the prayer back then, it was almost like asking for things. Lord God, please. And I never forget, I was laying in the bed and I was praying. It was at a time where things were really, kind of rough. And I said, God, please. And I heard God say to me just as clear, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. But understanding that I'm a piece of that, that's in me. I am it, and it is me. I didn't understand it very clearly then, but I am it, and it is me. I'm one with God. So, what was God trying to tell me? I don't have to beg, plead, ask. I mean, I can request what it is that I want, but words are power. Life and death wrapped up in the tongue. Life and death is wrapped up in tongue, they say. But in the words we speak, life and death wrapped up in the tongue is a scripture. You get what I'm saying? You know the scripture?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I just use that and I'm just referencing that because words have power.
Hmm.
And I understand that I can say something in my God power. And if I'm saying it in my God power, I'm not asking because I know that I'm a piece of it. If God is the creator of all things, if that is the creator of all things, God is the energy that creates all things. I'm a piece of that. That means I am a creator also.
Okay.
So I can say, just as God said, let there be. And I can say, let there be. And it is. What stops us from actually manifesting what we're saying, let it be, is the fact that we don't believe that we're that.
So where is the line between um manifesting and playing God? Like
Well,
I feel like there's a fine line there because on one side you're manifesting, but I mean we can't. I can say let there be light, but I got to get up and go turn the light on. I can't just be like let there be light, and now all of a sudden there's a sunshine in the sky. So at what point do we cross that line from manifestation into playing God?
see, I love that. I love your question. So I'm a piece of God. I'm the God of me. I'm the God of my life. You are the God of your life. God is the creator of all things. I'm a piece of that. I am not it. I am not the creator of everything that exists.
Okay. Hmm.
I'm a piece of the thing, everything, a piece of the thing that created all things. I'm a piece of that. I'm not it.
Okay.
So I am the God of my life.
Hmm.
I'm the God of my life. That's why Jesus says, I don't consider it robbery to consider myself equal with God. What was Jesus really saying? Jesus was saying, I understand that I am one with it. So, but I am the God of my life. I don't have control over your life. I'm not the God of your life. I'm not the God of the sun in the sky. I'm not the God of anything but me.
Hmm. Okay.
So
So
I can say, I can choose and create for me. Do I have the power to choose and create for you? Absolutely not. Your job.
okay. So if that's the case, then we all are living different lives, and because of I guess because of the different paths that we're on, we probably how do I want to put this? Is it that we all have different expectations? So for instance, the pastor of a church may have different expectations, different spiritual expectations, I guess as it pertains to God, different spiritual expectations than one of the people in the congregation. Meaning, you are a pastor, and because of that, I am expecting you to conduct yourself a certain way. Yes, there are certain group of rules that I have laid out, and right now I'm speaking. I don't want to say speaking for God, but I'm speaking for God right now. Speaking according to what He has said, there are a certain group of rules and guidelines that I have put into place that I expect everybody to follow. However, for certain people, There are certain expectations because of the place that I've placed you in. So for the pastor, I need you to conduct yourself in a certain way. But for the person who is in the congregation, I may not hold you to the exact same standard as I do this pastor because his path is different. And the way that I need him to reach people is different than the way I need you to reach people. You get what I'm saying?
I'm following.
Okay. So, well, I guess that's my question. Is that the case? Are there different expectations for people depending on the path that God has them on?
I think that's a people thing. I think that's a people thing because um I think people have taken God, and we've had this conversation before. I think people have taken all that is. I'm gonna reference to God as all that is. People have taken all that is and made it human form,
Hmm.
made it emotional, traits, emotional traits. I mean, I remember growing up, like I said, if you did something bad, then God would be angry and you'd get punished. And if you did something good, that God would bless you, but God was merciful at the same time. It was all of these human traits. And I remember after praying and asking God or all of this to teach me who it really was, knowing I realized that I knew nothing about all that is, because what they gave me was a human like man, because they refer to God as a man. They gave me a human like man that had character traits of that of a man. They got mad at you when you did something bad and happy when you did something good. And that is not what I've come to know now. That's not the all it is that I've come to know now. I think those are very, very human traits, that there's expectations for you to be this way. It's like a set of rules, and everybody's supposed to follow these rules. But if that is the case, if I'm a piece of all that is, and I'm a part of that, that means I have a direct connection. That means I'm it and it is me. And the rule that I should be following is the rule that of the God that dwells in me, right? That I'm a piece of. So if I'm doing it your way because there's a set of rules and this is what I'm supposed to do, what if that contradicts everything that's in me that's saying go this way? So if I do it, if they say, okay, you're supposed to um, go up the street, make a left turn, and then go into this store. And I am aware of who I am. I'm aware that I'm a piece of God having a human experience. But the God within me says, no, you go to the left, go up the street, and then make a right. Who do I listen to?
Hmm.
Do I listen to do whatever they're telling me to do because that's the right way to do it? This is how you're supposed to do it. Or do I listen to all that is that's within me?
Okay. That actually leads me to my next question. So, when we are vexed by something, when we do something that we know is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
we call it our conscious, um, we say guilt, any of these words, spirit being vexed, any of these things, is it conviction? Is it really the God that is in us, or the part of us that is God that is, I guess, internally chastising us because we did something that we know is wrong?
I think we chastise ourselves based on our beliefs of what we should be doing. I think a lot of times we chastise because if we're God having a human experience, God can choose to have whatever experience it wants to have, right? And
Mhm.
who's to say what's wrong or right? Who's to say what's bad or what's good other than the person that's having the experience?
But
So
isn't chastising more of an intentional thing? Like I will intentionally chastise myself, but I guess what I'm more so speaking to is a feeling. I'm
well
talking
that's
about
because
like I did something that I know is wrong and I'm feeling it, in my gut. I feel bad about it.
most of the time that's based on perspective though. Most of the time that's based on a perspective of I perceive that something is bad and I did it anyway, so now I feel bad. That's based on a percent. We can have a whole lot of different perspectives because I can do something that somebody else might think is bad, and I might just say, okay, it's just an experience. I'm having an experience. I chose that. I don't like it anymore, so I'm not going to choose it anymore. Or I can do something and be a part of it and make that decision and say, dog, you shouldn't have did that. You know that was wrong. You shouldn't have went there. I can choose to have whatever outcome from it. I can choose to feel however, oh, there go that word feeling. I can choose to have whatever emotion feeling that I want to have based on whatever my beliefs um, are.
So since we are in control of our emotions and how we feel, does that now mean that we can control karma? Because if I do something and I feel bad about it and I know that it's wrong, and now I have this fear that what I did was wrong is going to come back around on me, right? But if I have control over my feelings and my emotions, can I then change that feeling? Okay, it wasn't wrong. It wasn't wrong. What I did was not wrong now. I have made it so that I'm completely okay with me committing this murder or whatever it was. I'm completely okay with it now. And now that should erase, because karma is a direct result of um I guess karma is a direct result of an action, something that we've done previously. So now it's bringing it full circle. But is it bringing it full circle because of the feeling that we had or because of the action that was committed?
I love these conversations. Oh my God. Let me, okay. So I think first it's understanding energy. And um, there's universal laws. I remember asking God or asking all that is to teach me how to live heaven on earth. I want to learn how to live heaven on earth. And in that, I begin to, the laws of attraction, the laws of the universe started coming out. I began to start being presented with the laws of the universe and started really, really diving in that. So there's a universal law, the sowing and reaping. It has many names. Law of attraction, sowing and reaping, many names, right? But what that law pretty much says is whatever goes out has to come back in. And it says it on a lot of different levels. Even there's a scripture, we ain't gonna go too deep, but there's a scripture that says, it's the Our Father's prayer, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is within. So the kingdom of heaven is within us. We're praying literally, let it be done outside of me as it is inside of me, right?
Mhm.
So, which goes to the law of sowing and reaping, right? Whatever you send out in emotion, they kind of taught us that in action or in money or in things. You tithe 10% or you should give this, and it will come back tenfold. But they forgot to tell us about that in energy. They forgot to teach us about that in energy. Whatever you give out in energy has to show up outside of you. So whatever energy or intent you did, whatever you did in, is what has to come back. It's a universal law. So if you feel a certain way, so you did something and you're convicted, you feel bad about doing it. whatever emotion that absorbs inside of you, whatever that energy is that's going on inside of you, it has to show up outside of you. Now, let's give an example because you used murder, right?
Hmm.
You have people that's in the military, it's their job to kill, okay? And from their perception, they're going to kill some, the bad guys. They want to go get somebody that can cause harm to other people, right? So in their minds, are they doing something bad or are they doing something good?
I'm assuming they're doing something good, but
So then they don't have the guilt of, oh, I just killed somebody, because in their mind, I'm killing this person because it is for the good of everybody else.
now,
But if you have that within you that, oh, I killed somebody and I shouldn't have killed them, it could be the same soldier. That same soldier could say, well, I did kill it and that's my job, but I don't think that was right to do. They're going to have a different experience because whatever they're going to get back is going to be whatever came from them. So it's not a one size fit all. It's whatever is coming from you. It's whatever energy you're carrying from what you've done or the choices that you've made.
so it's
How do you
just
really feel about it? Say it
like
again.
you. So they are emotionally okay, and their spirit is at peace with the decision that they made, as long as they can find justification in killing.
As long as whatever they believe about it, whatever they believe it to be. So
Okay.
whatever you believe it to be, it's going to be. So if you
Mhm.
believe that you're doing it for the greater good of all, then you're doing it for the greater good of all, and that's the energy that you're going to get back. If you're doing it and you think that it was a mistake and you feel awful about it and you feel bad about it, then that has to come up on the outside of you, and you have to get that energy back.
Now, what about the person who has, they're killing and they believe that they're doing a good thing because they are, again, military, they're fighting against evil, and they're killing, right?
Hmm.
Now, of course, there are a lot of things that go into PTSD. You're watching some of your own people get killed. You're seeing bodies mangled, blood, just a gruesome, gruesome picture. Then you go back home with all of these thoughts, these memories, and then it starts to manifest itself as PTSD. So, for the person who is dealing with PTSD, and part of their PTSD is a result of them having to kill.
Okay.
So, when they did it, they felt justified in killing. They felt that justification there. But then when they start dealing with the PTSD, now there are these effects of they're harboring these uncomfortable feelings about the murders that they've committed. So now there's this struggle, this internal struggle. I did the right thing, but I don't necessarily feel good about the right thing that I did.
Right.
So now is that karma?
I won't say no. I won't say that it's karma, and I don't, because right now I'm just dealing with law, so I'm going to take all the emotion out of it, and there is no right or wrong in this. There's no judgment one way or another of how anybody feels. Let me say that up front, because everybody's entitled to feel whatever they feel, and everybody's right where they are when they're there. You know what I mean? And they're right where they're supposed to be. So, what I'm saying to you is this: whatever you really truly believe is going to come out no matter what. We can mask stuff all day long. I can sit here and say I'm okay, and I can make everybody believe that I'm okay with something and do it. But what do I really, really feel wholeheartedly? That is what's going to come out. Whatever I feel wholeheartedly when I go inside, the real truth about what I feel. That's why it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, the true intent, the truth about how I feel is going to come out. So if on the surface, or you've hyped yourself up, or ego is talking, or whatever, if you truly don't believe that you're doing the best thing, or you truly believe that it's wrong, or you don't agree with it, then that's going to come out one way or another. Now, if you truly believe that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm doing what's right, and it ain't no question about it. I know. It's not even a belief. I know what I'm doing is right. Most of those people don't have that feeling.
Okay. So I tell you what, let's take it off of military then. Let's put it on parents telling their kids this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. You know you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing, but it's still hurting you. So if you're doing the right thing, why does it hurt?
I love this. Me and my kids have had this discussion. Okay. Because there's also the law, I think it's the law of polarity. Law of polarity. There's an opposite end of everything. Okay.
Mhm.
So for everything, there's an opposite of it, but it's on the same spectrum. Okay. So if love is on one, or let's go to faith. If we won't even use the word faith, it's love. If love is on one end of the spectrum and fear is on the other end of the spectrum, okay, then it's the same spectrum, just opposite ends. Okay.
Okay.
So parents say that all the time. I've heard that too growing up, right? Got them whoopings too, right? But let's dig into truth. What I know to be true, my truth. My truth. My truth is love is different from fear, and it feels different. The emotion of love feels very different than the emotion of fear. Why do we whip our kids? Or why do we punish our kids? Or why do we yell at our kids? Most of the time, it's because we want them to understand not to do something because it may hurt them. It may hurt them. What energy is that in?
That's love.
Okay. So I'm fearing that you might do something. So I am going to discipline you because I'm fearing that you're going to do something that could cause harm to you.
So do you think the energy is fear, not love, or do you think it's a combination of both?
So when you are being loved, when you are really truly being loved, what does that feel like?
It feels amazing.
It feels amazing. Does it hurt?
No, I have had this conversation with people so many times about love hurts. I keep telling them love doesn't hurt.
I'm glad we're on the same page. So we're
Yes,
on the
yes.
same page.
Okay.
So if when you're being loved and you're truly being loved, it feels amazing. That's what you just said, right?
Right.
Okay. So when you are in fear of something, how does that feel?
It doesn't feel like love.
It doesn't feel like love.
Hmm.
When you got your butt whooped when you was younger, did it feel like fear or did it feel like love?
I didn't get very many whippings. I wasn't a badass kid like the rest of y'all. But but um, the couple of spankings that I got, um, I guess I don't. I guess I didn't really look at it in terms of a fear thing at the moment.
We're not
Fear,
going. Let's not talk about how you looked at it. I'm just talking about how did it feel. Let's just go on. Let's just go on the feelings right now.
so there was
How did
fear.
it feel?
There was fear before the whipping. There was fear before the punishment. There
Mhm.
was but the fear was, um I think the fear was bigger than the punishment. The fear was also the fact that there's disappointment, that I've disappointed my parents. Um,
Okay. So
so
let's hold up. Let's stay here for a second because
okay,
you about to go somewhere. And this is not to say that anybody is right or wrong for any actions because we are where we are, right? And we believe what we believe.
right.
So no justification for the action. My question to you is simply just stick on the feeling and the emotion. No justification, no nothing. How did the action of it, the energy of it, the talk of it, whatever it was? Because when you were in that love, you didn't explain, you just said it felt amazing. Leading up to it, in it, all of it felt amazing, right?
Mhm. Right.
Okay. Because the love feels amazing. So just how did it feel? Period. Give me the emotion.
It felt, it was painful.
It was painful. Yeah.
Mhm. So are you saying that discipline is not love?
What I'm saying is most of the time we do things, especially for me, I realize that I disciplined most of the time out of fear because that's what I was taught. I was taught that, you know, that same thing. I'm doing this because I love you, but you whipping my tail don't feel like love. And our emotions really are our guidance system to let us know how something feels, how something, what's the feeling, what's the energy? That's our guidance system. That's, do I want to participate in this? Or do I don't want to participate in it? Do I want to go this way or do I want to go that? Your emotions, the energy, that's the energy tells us what we want to do or where we are. What energy are we participating in? Which is huge.
Mhm.
So when it that feels contradictory when my parents was like, oh, I'm whooping you or I'm because I love you. That's a contra to me. That felt contradictory. It don't feel like love, and it didn't when I was little. But then I grew up to realize that it wasn't. It was really on the other end of love. It was out of fear. They feared me doing something that could hurt me. They feared me doing something that could hurt me.
But
So
but that
because
fear
they
was,
feared it, they
I'm sorry
wanted
to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go
they
ahead.
wanted to prevent me from doing it, and that was their way of preventing me from doing it because they were fearful that I might get in trouble, hurt myself, put myself in a bad position. But it was still fear based. That's
Okay.
not to say that they didn't love me. That's not to say that. They absolutely loved me.
But the fear was only there because of the love that was there.
Well, the fear was there because that's what they were taught. The fear was there because they were taught that was the way to handle it.
So then what is the alternative to handling? Or what is the alternative to discipline? So that you do it in a way that it's only rooted in love and not in fear.
Well, so discipline implies that you can make somebody do something that you can force your will upon someone else. Now you can force your will upon someone else if they allow you to force your will upon, if they submit or they surrender. But that would imply that could always be done. You have kids that have been disciplined their whole life or um, taught the right thing their whole life. What happens when that same kid decides that they want to go the other way? Was that discipline effective? Did it work?
Mhm.
Because
Um,
that implies that I can make you bend to my will, but I'm at a place now, and it's just for me. I'm at a place now where I understand that my children were given to me to help guide. I'm not the owner of them. I can't control them. The end was known before the beginning, which means they have their own experience. They're a piece of God in human form, having a human experience. Also, they're going to have the experience that they were meant to have. All I can do is guide. All I can do is guide and know that they're going to have the experience that they came here to have. But can I force my will upon them? Maybe for a little while, maybe while they're younger, maybe while I can be the big one and hover over them and you know make them fear me or and so they won't do anything. But what does that actually mean as they grow? Because they came here for a purpose. And they're going to live out that purpose one way or another, just as well as we did. Think about it. Our parents told us, my parents told me not to do stuff. What did I do? I got smarter on how to hide what I did. It didn't stop me. It didn't stop. It just made me think of more craftier ways to get around them.
Hmm.
Okay, you got your butt whooped. Okay. Next
So,
time you won't get caught.
so, so if that's the case, do you think that it's best to allow people, kids, but people, just learn from their mistakes?
I think they do learn from experiences. I won't call them mistakes,
Okay,
but
from
I think
experiences
it
or from their actions.
right. I think they do learn from their actions. I think that's a better teacher. I think that we can absolutely guide them. I think we can absolutely help assist them. I tell my kids all the time when they get into stuff, I'll say to them, I'd rather you have this experience now so that I can help guide you through it versus, you being 40 and having this experience. Because they're gonna do things that and they're gonna have experiences that's gonna reap them a consequence or reap them something that they might not like. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And that's my opportunity to say, hey, well, what do you think about that? And how could you have done it differently? And what did you want to have happen? That's my opportunity. Now, can I try to guide them before that? Absolutely. We have talks all the time, but I do understand, and this is not something that I'm just thinking. This is something I've been through. I had those kids. My kids have taught me so much. I have those stubborn kids that's gonna do what they want to do. What I mean? They're not gonna be disrespectful now. They're not going to, stand in my house and tell me what they're gonna do. But what they will do is do exactly what I did, find a way around, because they're gonna have their experience.
Hmm.
So, the spanking and the putting on punishment, that just didn't work for my kids. It did not work. And I realized at a very early age this isn't working for them. I got some different kids. This don't work for them.
Yeah, and I can see that. I can definitely agree that you can't take that same approach with every child, but I do think that there needs to be some form of accountability because if they feel as though they can just continue to do things and get away with it, the kid that is not held accountable grows up to be an adult who feels as though they don't have to be held accountable. And eventually, they are held accountable either by the law or by the streets.
See, accountability is different than discipline, though. Accountability is different for me. Accountability is very different than discipline because you're gonna get whatever you do, whatever you put out, something's gonna come back, right? So you're gonna have a response for everything that happens, no matter what. Okay.
Right.
For example, let's talk about kids in their grades, right? If I have a child and they're just not doing their work, I can sit and say, listen, we're gonna sit here until you do your work. And we can go through that every night, right? When they get in school, I'm not with them. I can put them on punishment. I can take away their phone. I can take away everything. I can old school whip their tail. Is that gonna make them do that work at school if they choose not to?
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe not, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So is that effective? Is that it might be effective to some, but then what are you teaching them? Are you teaching them that it's how to encourage themselves, or are you teaching them that if somebody makes you do it, then you have to do it? Now,
Or
my
or
approach,
that there could be consequences to not doing it.
the consequences are going to be theirs anyway because they don't do the work, they're going to fail.
Right. But also, there are certain consequences that we feel that we can deal with, and there are other consequences that we feel like we can't deal with. I may, I may in my mind feel as though, you know what, I can deal with this F. I that's a consequence. I may not like it, but I can deal with that consequence. For me, the bigger consequence may be the fact that you said I can't go out with my friends. I get my car taken away from me. That may be a bigger consequence. So what I'm saying is, I guess we just have to figure out how to hold the kid accountable. We need to understand what it is, what it's going to take to get through to that kid. Because, maybe them getting an F, maybe that's not enough.
That could be the case, but then, but see, also, see, for me, I think it's for my kids. We'll sit down and we'll talk about those things. You know what I'm saying? If you do this, it's your choice. You get to choose it because it's your life. I used to tell my kids all the time, you could choose whether you're gonna eat oodles and noodles because you got to, or you're gonna eat steak and lobster. You get to choose it. Just know that when you become I'm gonna give you every tool you need to be able to eat that steak and lobster, but it's ultimately your choice. And if you choose to take the oodles and noodles, be okay with it because then you can no longer come and eat my steak and lobster.
Hmm.
Letting them understand that for every actions there are consequences. For every actions there's something that comes with it. I think is really, really important and helping them to see that. You don't do your work, you get F. You get Fs, you don't pass. If you don't pass, then you have to keep going to summer school, night school, because in my house you gotta graduate. You gotta graduate. But then it's still all of a choice. Because I can say in my house you gotta graduate, and they can say, well, I want to be in your house. That's still their choice at a certain age. You get what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's helping them to understand that it's all a choice and you get to choose it. Just make sure you're choosing something that you like the outcome of it. Because then you teach them how to think for themselves. I don't have to think for you. I don't want to think for you because ultimately you're going to have to be strong enough to stand on your own 2 feet and work it out and think and be a thinker.
Hmm.
So for me, it's more teaching them to have foresight. If I do this, that means this is going to happen. If I do this, this is going to happen. And be able to sit and analyze and say, well, what do I want to choose? And what's the outcome? How do I want this to turn out? And then put a plan in place for themselves. Then I have a leader, not just somebody I'm telling what to do and this is what you got to do. No, I want you to understand why you should do it. I need you to understand the consequences of your actions. I need you to understand, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And then when that happens, do you like what just happened? And if you don't, let's make a different decision. And how do you do that? Now, I wasn't given that. You did something my parents didn't. So they told you not to do it, and you did. You got your butt whooped point blank.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it was because of I love you. I'm doing this because I love you. But that was where, to me, that was fear based. But where I stand right now, I understand now. I understand that you are God having a human experience, and you came here to have that experience, and you're gonna have it no matter what. And I
Okay.
understand that I'm just here to help guide you. I don't own you. I am not your master. I'm here to help guide you through the experience the best way I can. So me knowing that you're a piece of God and that you're going to have your experience, and I'm going to hold the energy within myself to know that all of it's going to work out for you. It's going to work out for you. And I'm going to hold that energy for my child. But then I'm going to help guide them through and show them what they're doing. Show them. And hey, do you like what you're getting?
Okay. All right. So what I want to do is, because we're gonna have to wrap up soon, I want to bring this full circle. I want to bring this back to the original question of who am I? When we first started talking about it, and of course we're talking about a metaphysical explanation. The explanation was also very spiritual. We were talking about how you are who you believe you are. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's the simple question. The Without making it a blanket statement and applying it to all 7.7 billion people on Earth, right? But
Uh-huh.
that is also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's also an answer that is rooted in us knowing that we are a piece of God, correct?
I mean, you can know it or not know it. It's whether you are aware or unaware, it still is so. So even like the law of attraction, you know, you're manifestors regardless of whether you was born a manifestor. You've been manifesting your whole life, whether you're aware of it or not. Doesn't mean it's not so. It's still so, whether you're aware of it or not.
So at that point, are you now? I tell you what, I'm gonna come back to that question. Let me say this first. An atheist asks you, "Who
Okay.
am I?" They ask you, "Who am I?" You
Same.
can't go into all of that God stuff with this
You're a
person.
piece of all that is. You're a piece of everything that exists. You're a part of everything. Still same. Still same.
Okay.
You're
Got
part. We're part of it all.
So what does that mean for the person who now gets that answer?
Hmm.
A person who has been looking and chasing this identity for years, trying to figure out who they are, where their place is in the world, and what they're going to do from this point forward. When they receive that answer, I am a part of everything.
Hmm.
Now what? Because I got this answer. It's almost as if somebody is like, um I don't know what my real last name is. I was, let's say that the person was adopted, or whatever, and they really have no idea about their family history, and they've been like searching for a long time. Then they finally find it, and then they're like, okay, well, this is who you are, this is your last name. Now what do you do with that? Now that you have that information, what do you do with that?
I love that question. That's why it's so important to be in tune with your emotions. Now it's about going and choosing things that bring you joy and that brings light and life to you, and being able to tune in, tap into the emotional part to make sure that it's enjoyable, and choose those things that are called to you and you are called to it, so that you are having a great experience. And then that becomes, then that takes you into knowing yourself and what you like and what you're attracted to and what you want to do and how you feel and what likes your soul. So I would say to that person, start choosing and paying attention to how it feels.
Hmm.
All is choice. You get to choose, and you get to choose love, you get to choose hate, you get to choose joy, you get to choose chaos. We get to choose it all. But a lot of times we've been taught not to pay attention to our feelings, you know. They go that feeling stuff. You know, they teach you not to pay attention to your emotions and your feelings, but they are your guidance system. Now, I will say this, have control over your feelings. Okay, but be aware of them. Have control over them. Be aware of them because when something doesn't feel right, it's for me. It's not right. If it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel good. Um, Choose something else.
So I think that is easier said than done, but it needed to be said and it most definitely needs to be done. But I think that is, I honestly think that we just stumbled upon our next topic because I think that is a really, really good place to go to. Coming off of this particular episode, I think the metaphysical explanation for feelings, I think that's a good place to go next. To talk about our feelings, why we feel what we feel, what to do with these feelings, and how we can control and change these feelings. Because for a lot of people, they feel a feeling, and for them, that's what it is. I'm angry, and I am going to react based off of this fear. I said fear, based off of this feeling that I'm experiencing. Okay.
Right,
Well, we know that you don't have to stay at that
right.
place of anger. You don't have to be there. You can change that. So I think that's a good place to to go next week, and that's a good place for us to go ahead and end this time. So um I think that hopefully everybody understands simple answer to the question, who am I? You are a part of everything. Okay. So
Which
with
means you have access to everything. We're gonna leave that there. Take that one home.
that's big too. You have access to everything. That's huge. And I think that we can even revisit that when we get into the feelings, when we start talking about feelings,
Absolutely.
and having access to everything, but having access to those feelings which could lead us to whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we'll definitely do that next time. Okay. All right. Well, this was good. This was good. I like it. I like it. What I do, with our podcast, this is our second episode, but I've done both times. I'm asking questions at times because I want the answer too. I'm not just trying to set it up so that we can present answers to everybody else. There are certain questions that I'm like, I need the answer to this too. So I'm learning a lot. I definitely am learning a lot on this podcast, and I appreciate
Thank you for the opportunity.
it. Oh, no problem at all. I I tried my best not to be on this show, and you convinced me. You told me I needed to be on the other side of this. I tried my best, but you have a way of putting things, and I'm like, okay, I got you. So here
Aren't
we
you
are.
glad? Aren't you glad we doing
I'm,
this?
I'm very glad. I'm very glad, and I don't plan on slowing down. We in this thing, so I'm looking forward to everywhere we're about to go with this podcast. So
Absolutely.
yes, okay, all right. So remember last week I was trying to figure out a way to end the show, and I tried to do it, and I messed it up at the end.
Yes.
I typed it here so that I don't mess it up this time. So we just want to thank everybody for joining us.
Yeah.
And please do not be afraid to ask why. See? Okay.
Yes. Please tap in. Tap in. Ask your
Yeah.
questions if there's any questions or comments.
Hmm.
Please tap in. We will definitely respond.
Yes.
So
Yes.
weigh in on the conversation, be a part of the conversation. We welcome that piece of it. I think that would actually just make it great. And we'll make sure we try to get back, or we might even talk about it on the next episode. We have gone to every other week. So make sure that y'all tune in 2 weeks from now.
Hmm. And we will see y'all then.
Yes.